Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Now I am always fairly excited, but I'm even more excited than usual today because today I get to review a brand new military chronograph by Baltany. Now you could describe this one as the Type B version of the Type A military chrono that I bought and reviewed last year. Why the excitement, you may well ask? Well, the Type A chrono was not only one of the best watches that I bought last year, and I bought 52 watches last year, but it made it to my top 5 bottom 5 list. That's how good it was. It's also one of the best watches that I bought on AliExpress full stop, and I bought one or two of those over the years. Now you saw the pop-up, I have bought a couple of Baltanys, but I didn't actually buy this one. They got in touch with me after watching my review of the Type A and asked me if they could send me the Type B, and I was like, okay. This review is timed to coincide with the big AliExpress mid-year sale. I will leave links to both watches in the description of the video therefore. They really are pretty similar, so is there an argument for buying one over the other, or perhaps even for buying both if you already have the Type A? Let's flip the camera and find out. Alright, let's get into it and let's try and make this a relative quickie. You already know this is going to be a positive review because you already know that I'm into this watch. The Type A really is a cracker, so I'm expecting big things of this Type B. Of course, there will be moans, there will be niggles, there always are, but yeah, overall it's very impressive and I think you'll be impressed with one if you pick one up for yourself. Packaging is nothing to write home about, no, not particularly impressive, just one of those standard little plastic clip cases. There is a proper signed and dated 2-year warranty card though, which is always reassuring from an AliExpress brand. So how much are these then? Well, maximum you should be paying is $150 or the equivalent in your local currency. They don't tend to discount them too much though, even during the sales, but you should probably get that down to low 140s with a voucher or two. Links in the description, of course. 3 different strap options are available: black leather, brown leather, or black NATO. I suggest going for the leather, it's actually quite good, and if you are a NATO person, you've probably got better NATOs at home yourself anyway. So I'm calling this a Type B chronograph, and I'm sure I don't have to explain that one in too much detail. It looks very much like a Type B Flieger, with 5 to 55 in large numerals rather than 1 to 12 that you would get on a Type A dial. Now the case crown pushers are all carried over from the previous watch, as is, crucially, the amazing sapphire crystal. But this one uses a slightly different Seiko movement. It features a VK67, which has 3 registers and a date complication. So if you are going to be wearing this one as your daily, or you just enjoy a date, then this is the one to go for. It definitely makes the dial look far busier though, perhaps unsurprisingly. Here is a little bit of comparative footage between the two watches. You can see what I mean. I'll show you a few more side-by-side shots later on. But first, dimensions. It is a great size, the perfect size for this style of mid-century chronograph. 39mm in diameter, 12.1mm thick, just over 46mm lug to lug. I measure it at 46.3, 20mm between the lugs. Now, the weight is going to vary slightly depending on whether you go for leather or NATO, but only slightly. On the leather, it weighs in at 67 grams. The crown and both chrono pushers screw down, meaning you can be confident about 100 meters of water resistance. The crystal is domed sapphire with anti-reflective coating, and as mentioned, it's a Seiko VK67 Mecha Quartz movement. Case finish is really nice. Sandblasted 316L stainless steel. It's smooth and it's consistently finished, and it's far less likely to scratch and scuff if you treat it roughly, or at least far less likely to show the abuse that you have subjected it to. The glass is well integrated into a fixed bezel, and the bezel itself is relatively slim, meaning you get a fairly large dial aperture considering it's a sub 40mm watch. The pushers and crown are also sandblasted. It's an unsigned crown, but I will let it off because it's a mid-century mil-spec style piece, so the original watch would not have had a signed crown. As I said, the leather strap is fine, cross-stitched, vintage style, thick enough but not too thick, and with sealed edges, so it's not going to die the first time you get it wet either. It's Baltany branded on the underside, but not on the buckle and tang. Now, buckle and tang are brushed finished. It would have been nice had they been sandblasted, but for $140 odd, I can't be too hard on them. Case back is worth about 6 seconds of our time. Screw down, stainless steel, sandblasted, sterile, 5, 6, and we're done. The movement itself is standard Seiko VK range, so 3-year battery life plus or minus 20 seconds per month accuracy. Crown to the first position, adjust the date. Crown to the second position to stop the movement and adjust the time. Now the sub-dial at 6 o'clock is a small second, and it's a 12-hour chronograph timer. The top register counts the minutes to 60, the register at 9 counts the hours to 12, and it will just keep going and going and going until you stop it. One push of the pusher starts the movement, one push of the same top pusher stops the movement, and one push of the B pusher, the bottom pusher, resets it to 0. No laps, nothing fancy. The 12-hour timing capability is the big draw of the VK67. And please don't forget to screw down your chronograph pushers when you're done, otherwise that 100 meters of water resistance might not apply. So you have already been looking at the dial and hands, obviously. Let's go in a little bit closer. Everything is just printed on in 2 colors, the majority of the markers and all of the numerals are in white, but the hour markers are in Fotina yellow, as are the 2 main hands. It's a nice combination. There's enough off-white to convince you that it's a retro watch, but enough pure white to allow you to read it quickly and cleanly. 3 registers and a date plus 14 numerals do mean it's a busy little dial though, and I'm sure some people won't be happy that they've had to clip various Arabics to make way for the registers at 12 and 6. I think it looks fine though, busy but not citizen chronograph busy, if you know what I mean. The hour hand and minute hand are simple swords, flat and high poly silver. The 3 sub-register hands are also little swords with similar proportions to the hour hand, which is very nice. The central chronograph hand has a red arrow tip to it, with just a touch of colour, the only touch of colour on the dial really therefore, and a circular porthole counterbalance. Pretty unusual, again a nice little touch. The dial itself is a really deep black that manages to be rich but without being shiny, and everything is allowed to do its thing thanks to a fabulous piece of sapphire crystal. Honestly, this is one of the 5 or 6 best pieces of sapphire crystal I have ever seen. It's ridiculous that it is on a watch costing under $150 US. The clarity is impeccable and there is plenty of anti-reflective undercoating to help with legibility in strong light. Now I know a lot of people have picked up the Type A since it was released. I am not the only person to have praised it on YouTube. If you've bought one, leave a comment. Tell the people who haven't bought one of these just how good that glass really is. And it's not too bad after dark either. Bicolour Lume, BGW9 where there is white on the dial, and C3 Old Radium where there is Fotina on the dial. Now, if you know your Lume, you know what's going to happen here. Old Radium doesn't last quite as long as BGW9 thanks to its coloration, and when I turn the speed up on this, the hands are still visible at the end of the 20 minutes, but perhaps not quite as clearly as they would have been had they been BGW9. But then the watch would lose its whole tone, it would lose its whole colour palette, and it just wouldn't look as nice. The Lume's still pretty good though, all things considered. And on wrist, I really like this size. It fits neatly, compact, no sharp edges, well integrated sapphire, and a surprisingly decent leather strap. Still has a bit of chunk to it though at 12mm plus, and because of that narrow bezel, it still has a quite large dial, which it definitely needs considering how much it has printed on there. Legibility is still quite good though, especially the numerals which are white on black. Obviously the silver hands catch the light depending on the angle, which always helps and makes for an attractive wrist roll. Pocket shot to finish, less than 70 grams, less than 40mm. It's an easy watch to wear, this one. The supply strap is good, but I usually wear my Type A on a Baltany silicone, which takes the comfort factor up another notch. Alright, moans and niggles, I do not have many. I know sub 40 isn't going to appeal to everyone, and I would love to see Baltany make this also in a 41 with say 48mm lug to lug. I think that would bring them a heap more sales from people who prefer slightly bigger watches. And a 3-register chronograph plus date Type B in a sub 40mm case is asking a lot of the dial designer. There is a lot going on here, and there is very little breathing space around those registers. Doesn't have the pleasing symmetry that the 2-register no-date Type A does. Here are the 2 watches side by side again. You can of course see what I mean. Part of me wishes therefore that they had made a Type B with 2 registers and no date, the same movement as the Type A. I think that would have looked fantastic, but this is the route they took, and this is the watch that we got. Also, the date wheel would have been less invasive in black rather than white, but then again it wouldn't have balanced out the 9 o'clock index as well, so I think that one's a bit of a 50-50. So all in all, it will probably come down to personal preference. Do you like Type A dials or Type B dials, and how badly do you need a date on your watch? Overall though, this is just an awesome watch. It's well made, it's really solid feeling, it's practical, and it's low maintenance. It looks fantastic and has got a piece of glass covering the dial that belongs on something costing several $1,000s and not $150. And that is something definitely worth getting excited about. So there you have it. The dial is definitely busier, but if you need a date or prefer the Type B style, there is so much to like here and so little to dislike. So much in fact that there is definitely an argument for buying it in addition to the Type A. I will be keeping both, I can tell you that much. If you like this one, you should probably watch my original review here, or for a different style of Baltany chronograph, click here. Thanks for making it all the way to the back end of the video. I hope to see you again in a future one.